Welcome back to Covers.com's bracket breakdown. We're looking at the round of 64 games on the Friday. All of this and all the odds provided brought to you by Bet365. Douglas Farmer, let's start. Best bets. What do you got?
Best bets for Friday. I should probably start in my beloved Midwest region, even though there are only 2 games on Friday in the Midwest region. How am I going to find a best bet? I'm going to outright doubt Troy. And not only because I have a personal grievance with anybody who goes by the nickname Trojans. It's like we forget they fell for a dumb trick and almost all of them died. And yet we validate them nowadays. The real reason to doubt Troy tomorrow on Friday is it's a terrible shooting offense. 30% from deep, number 339 in the country, but it's number 6 offensive rebounding team in the country. They live on the offensive glass. Bad news. Kentucky ranks number 25 in the country in defensive rebounding. That's just going to stifle Troy's only real offensive weapon. Without those second chance points, it defies belief to think Troy can keep up with Kentucky's high-paced and ruthlessly efficient offense. I don't need to spend any more thought on this. I don't see Troy keeping up. Kentucky neg 11.5. Neg 110 at Bet365. Piece of cake.
All right. Rohit Pannaiya is in the East. Rohit, what do you got? Best bet tomorrow.
Oh, well, I'm taking Oregon -7. I'm in the East, but yeah, this game's taking place over in Seattle, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time tip-off. And I think that really kind of lends itself to Oregon almost having like a home court advantage here, taking on the Liberty Flames. Now, the whole 12-5 seed upset thing is now such a big narrative. Public's well aware of it, and you're seeing that bettors are sometimes coming in pretty hard on these 12 seeds. That gives us some pretty good lines for the favorites. I mean, look at that Michigan matchup over in the other region, right? Michigan's laying, I think, only 2.5 points now. The Big Ten champs as a number 5 seed. So this is another spot. I like Oregon -7. Liberty is also like a trendy upset pick. They take a ton of threes, really accurate with their 3-point shooting. But at the same time, Oregon defends the arc well. And I know that Dana Altman is going to be able to game plan against a one-dimensional attack. And the other big thing, of course, Liberty has no size. One of the smaller lineups in Div 1, ranked, I think, 298th in rebounding rate. So I'm expecting them to get bullied inside by Nate Biddle and a pretty big front court there.
Yeah, I don't think Dana Altman gets enough credit for being a fantastic basketball coach, that's for sure. For me, I'm in the West region. I'm going with UConn, going with the defending champs. It was -4.5. It's up to -5.5. I still like it at that number at Bet365. Oklahoma has some trouble, and they're going to have some trouble against this UConn size. Right now, the Sooners, they allow 33 points in the paint, and they are 322nd in defending 2-point field goals. And UConn, they got some big bad boys up front. They put up 35.8 points in the paint per outing. They can crash the glass for offensive boards and second chance looks. Game models call for a closer game, but I think UConn wears them down over 40 minutes. So give me the Huskies -5.5. Chris is in the South region, am I correct? And someone was jumping in with a best bet for the South.
Yeah, I think I'm grabbing the Tar Heels here -2. Kind of probably a trendy pick right now with how they've been playing lately. But yeah, I mean, 9-2 straight up and against the spread in their last 11. Only losses to number 1 Duke during that span. We've talked about this before. I mean, starting 2 bigs, Ben Allen, Lubin, and Jalen Withers has really changed that makeup of that team. They're much better on the offensive glass now. Their guards are starting to hit their outside shots. You've got Drake Powell and Ian Jackson who keep showing improvement. And of course, they really impressed me with their blowout win against San Diego State in the first 4. Now that they've kind of gotten their feet wet in the tourney too, I think they're going to come out firing on all cylinders, taking on an Ole Miss squad that hasn't played in a week, hasn't looked great in about the last month and a half. 3-11-1 against the spread in their last 15. They're soft inside defensively, terrible on the glass. Let's give me the Tar Heels here, short spread -2.
All right, we're going to jump into our player spotlight. And Rohit, I'm going to dovetail on you with that UNC bet. And I like Elliot Cadeau to have over 5.5 assists in this. It's +115. Cadeau is averaging 6.2 assists. He's dished out 6 or more dimes in 8 of his last 13 games. And Ole Miss plays a lot of pressure defense. They run a lot of traps. They're very, very aggressive. But what that does leave them susceptible to is ball movement. They allow 14 assists per game. They allow the 319th highest assist to field goal ratio to opponents per game as well, too. And projections for Cadeau range from 4.1 to 6.6 assists. This is a guy who has 30 assists in his last 4 games, those postseason games. Hubert Davis, he was talking to the media after that impressive game against SDSU, which Cadeau just commanded as the point guard. And he basically said, for him to control the tempo of game, that is exactly what we need from him. In sports, you can ride a hot goalie. you can ride a hot quarterback, and in basketball, you can ride a hot point guard. And for me, that's Cadeau right now. So I like him to have 6+ assists at plus 115. Douglas Farmer, any player props there in the Midwest?
This isn't going to need much more explanation after I've already described how many threes Troy is going to miss. They shoot from beyond the arc nearly 45% of the time and make only 30% of them. Their average height is lower than 6'6". Their rotation with nobody taller than 6'9" and no one above 6'8" playing more than half the minutes. So I'm looking at Kentucky forward 6'10" senior Amari Williams to have over 7.5 rebounds against the Trojans. He's one of the best defensive rebounders in the country, ranking number 5 in defensive rebounding rate. He cleared 7.5 rebounds in 11 of 20 SEC games. All due respect to Troy, the SEC has taller and more physical rebounders for Williams to go up against. So he's going to have plenty of chances with Troy missing those shots, and he's already a quality rebounder. This goes hand in hand with that Kentucky neg 11.5 thought from earlier.
All right, man among boys out there. What do you like for player props in the East?
I love a lot of player props on Friday, to be honest. I've got the over Tyler Nickel threes, got the over 7.5 rebounds for Tobe Awaka, but the big one that jumped out at me, milestone prop, Alvaro Folgueiras for Robert Morris, 10+ rebounds, plus 300 over at Bet365.
Oh, it's a spicy meatball.
Sure is, and I honestly, I love this play. You look at him, he's the Horizon League Player of the Year, best player in Robert Morris, averages 9.1 rebounds per game. Of course, the Tide play at the fastest tempo in the country. That leads to a ton of inflated stats across the board. So 295th in the country in rebounds allowed per game. They could also be without top rebounder Grant Nelson, who's on the wrong side of questionable. And you look at Folgueiras, and he's gone over double-digit boards in 6 of his last 13 games. And that's, plus 300. So that's pretty crazy value, especially when you consider that if the Tide get out to a big lead, and they're expected to as, 23-point favorites, I can't see them giving a ton of effort on the glass down the stretch there.
And they put up a ton of buckets and increase the play and a lot of rebounding opportunities for sure. Sir. I'll wrap it up for the player props in the West. I'm looking at Memphis guard PJ Haggerty to go over 20.5 points. It's minus 120, but it's minus 120 for a reason. So Hunter is injured for them, and one of their key guards as well. And even with him playing regular minutes, Haggerty has a good shot at going 21 plus. If Hunter goes out, those player projections jump to like 25 points. Colorado State, not a great defense, but they've also struggled with turnovers here down the stretch. And Memphis is a team that thrives on chaos. They force a lot of steals. They force a lot of turnovers. They force a lot of points off turnovers. And in transition, they love to get out and run in fast break. And Haggerty's the guy that leads that fast break. Memphis, like I said, among the best out there in POVs. Haggerty, the number 2 player in the country in fast break points. So keep an eye on the status of Hunter for the Memphis Tigers. Should he miss out, I'm looking at Haggerty's overs. I'm looking at his alt totals too and his milestones at Bet365. Let's jump in. Let's dabble with some upsets here in the bracket. See if we can stir things up. Douglas, get it started. Any upset picks that you like in the Midwest?
Let's have some fun. Roe already endorsed North Carolina after its first 4 win. I'm going to endorse Xavier after its first 4 win. Available at plus 135 at Bet365 against Illinois. Illinois' defense has fallen off a cliff in the last month. If you look at Bar Torvik's ratings, you can filter by date. Before February 15th, a worthwhile defense. Since then, number 139 in the country, 10.3 points per 100 possessions worse. The clearest piece of this collapse is giving up 40% from 3. Meanwhile, Xavier has been surging. Its offense, 7.8 points better per 100 possessions, better since February 15th compared to beforehand. Best piece of that, hitting 39.8% of its threes. Do I need to say much more here? Xavier's going to pour it in from deep, just like it did in the second half against Texas, scoring 47 second-half points in that comeback. Dayton to Milwaukee is a quick trip. We've got dovetailing pieces of momentum across the last month. Give me Xavier to continue this push and make it 2 first 4 teams to advance out of the first round.
All right, very smart. Looking at those recent records too. Don't get caught up in the big thing. That's a lot of momentum. What have you done for me lately? Type thing. Rohit, what do you got on upset watch there in the East?
Yeah, I mean, my bracket's pretty chalky out East, but there's a team I'm definitely keeping an eye on. That's Vanderbilt taking on St. Mary's. Vanderbilt right now is plus 4, plus 160 on the money line. And of course, I mean, big difference in conference between these two teams. Vanderbilt ran the gauntlet in the SEC. Gales played in the weaker West Coast Conference. The Doors went 12-1 straight up and 10-3 against the spread in the non-conference part of their schedule, though. Gales went just 3-10 against the spread in their 13 non-conference games. And we know that the Gales are a really good defensive team, but they also play at a really, really slow pace, pretty mediocre on offense. So they don't put up a ton of points. So Vandy is going to be in this game right until the end. And then all you have to do is make a couple of shots down the stretch to kind of pull it out. Vanderbilt has been held below 70 points just twice since the middle of January. If they score even 65 points in this, I think that's enough to get the upset win. So definitely something to keep an eye on.
All right, good stuff, Ro. In the West, I'm treading lightly when it comes to upsets on Friday here in the round of 64. Grand Canyon is a team that I loved last year. I do like them in this one, except they drew Maryland. And plus 450 to pull off the upset and beat the Terps. I don't think they will. However, I think they could put a scare in Maryland, at least in the first half. I took Grand Canyon plus 6 in the first half. GCU is actually the number 2 first half defensive rated team in the country. Behind Houston, and the team that's behind them is actually Maryland, but they're also 26th best in first half scoring average. The Lopes, they have NCAA experience from last year. They put a scare into Alabama, and they've got depth at scoring, and they've got talent that can keep up with the Crab Five, at least for a half. You got Tyron Smith, Tyron Grant Foster, and Jacoby Coles, 2 fantastic players that show up on some NBA radars as well too. GCU has covered the full game spread at just a 38% clip this season. However, they're a 58% first half ATS winner. So I like GCU. Keep it close here against Maryland. I know it's not an upset type thing, but when it comes to some of those underdogs, I do like looking at their first half, knowing that over the course of 40 minutes, things kind of balance out. But within that 20-minute frame, they can come out and catch some of these favorites on the heel. So Grand Canyon plus 6 first half. Doug, you looked at an upset in the South.
I do indeed have one, and I am risking the Mountain West. It's a constantly disappointing conference in March Madness, especially when you remove San Diego State from that data set. But New Mexico tends to rise to the level of its competition. It's available at plus 150 against Marquette at Bet365. No spread either. New Mexico went 6-3 in 9 games against NCAA tournament competition against the spread. Compare that to 9-12 in its other games. Looking at games against quad 1 teams this year, New Mexico actually rates better than Marquette. Number 34 team in 7 games against them compared to number 38 in 14 games against them. New Mexico rises to the level of its competition, and in this instance, it's going to be its defense that forces Marquette to live from deep, where Marquette is really bad. That, with New Mexico's rebounding prowess, could get this plus 150 home. So that.
All right, I like that one. Just a reminder, you can find all these odds and all these bets at Bet365. And before we go, just a reminder too, guys, people can follow your action here in the NCAA tournament. Doug, where can they follow you?
When we're not posting these videos on YouTube at Cover Sports, you can find me on Twitter at D_Farmer. I'm trying to make sure I get out every bet on there, at least in the morning of the games.
All right, Ro. You're on mute, brother.
Follow me on X, covers_row, covers_RO. And of course, all our written previews are on the website, so check that out.
All right, you can check me out on X at CoversJLo. That is it. Good luck with Friday's round of 64 games.